talks with their hands.
Speaking of talking, could you tell me about those suits you got at Martini Carl's?
Well, Dan, Martini Carl's the most beautiful clothing store I've been to in my life, because you know how you go in, it's in Boston, right near the famous church where Emerson preached on the corner.
Is it on Newbury Street or
No,
Boylston?
Well, now there's one on Newbury Street, but this was at the corner of Boylston and I don't know what, right there where the, what's that beautiful church where Emerson used to preach, the Episcopal Church, I think it is. And they were kitty corner. It was very interesting, but the thing about Martini Carl's was, every place else I went looking for clothes, I never find anything I want. You go into Martini Carl's, you want everything. Every suit you look at, oh, that's for me. I mean, the taste of the people that they go buy in Italy, I guess, and the taste of the buyers is just incredible. It was a very long, narrow store, but very quiet inside. Going inside is like going in some kind of a cathedral, really, in a way, or some kind of a chapel, let's say. It was all quiet and nice carpets and everything like that. And for example, I saw they just come out with the artificial leather for the first time, suede, and the artificial suede jacket. Put it on, it was just my size. I'm looking at myself in the mirror. I turn around and Tony has put up, hanging next to the mirror behind me, he's put up 7 identical suede jackets in 7 different colors in my size. And you get to pick the one. That's Martini Carl's. You know, they don't have one. They get 7 colors in your size. Who knows where they stored them? It was such a tiny place. But I went there. I'd been a programmer on the West Coast, and I quit and headed to Europe. I bought a one-way ticket with my severance pay, and I stopped everywhere. I had friends or family. I was saying goodbye to America. And I got to Boston. I was down to a couple $100, I guess. And I went over to Martini Carl's just because I love them over there, and didn't have much money. And they had white turtleneck T-shirts, long sleeve, beautiful. Not T-shirts, but white, you know, jerseys or whatever, with a real turtleneck, Egyptian cotton, and they were selling them off. It was sale time in the summer. They were selling them off for a couple bucks or something like that. And so I bought one and wore it around town that day, and I must have had about 7 compliments. Everybody who saw it on me said, "Oh, wow, that looks wonderful." So if I've got a good thing in mind, I go after it. So I went back to Martini Carl's the next day, and I bought a dozen of them, or 11 of them. So I'd have an even dozen, identical white, you know, it cost me $30, $40 in those days. It wasn't anything, and I had a wardrobe. They lasted me for probably 15 years before the last one wore out. Anyway, as I'm going, and I must admit, I'd been smoking a little really good Jamaican dope before I went over to buy them. So as I'm going out of Martini Carl's, I look in the shop window, and they've got these harlequin suits, one of them in black and white checks, and the other one in brown and yellow checks, with big, you know, like a checkerboard, but they had no sleeves. They were sleeveless suits, and they were a brocade, which is to say it wasn't a print harlequin pattern. It was a brocade, whatever that is, a 3-dimensional, you understand. Absolutely gorgeous. And of course I was a little stoned anyway, but and get this, it's marked down from $239 to $39, right? So I stopped. I probably had $100 left, and I turned around, went in the store. I said, "Is this for real? You know, this marked down 90% or whatever?" And the old Mr. Carl said, "Oh yeah," he says, "Mr. Nelson, this was a wonderful New York atelier. I forget the name, Louis something, and they went out of business. So we got their last remnants, you know, and so we're just clearing them out." I said, "Would you like one of those suits?" I said, "I'll take them both, right? They just happen to be my size." He said, "All right," and he took my measurements. "The tailor will have them done for you tomorrow." He said, "Imagine, they even tailored them for me, for the, because I had that yoga body. I was in really, you know, nice shape then. So they actually tailored them, so I had tailored suits as well for $40 a piece." So the next day, I come in a cab on the way to the airport. I stop the cab, I grab the bags, you know, and jump in the cab, get out to the airport, and I can't wait to try on these suits. So I go in the men's room. I had plenty of time before my flight, and I pull up the stuff, and now I had a suit, a 3-piece herringbone IBM suit made at Wallach's. You know, it was just your ultimate Ivy League, Harvard geek type of suit, or businessman kind of suit. And it was pretty smelly by then because I'd been wearing it in San Francisco for a month, you know, doing this job. So after I got in my new suit with my white turtleneck and my black boots, and I had hair down to about here, and it was just turning gray, you know. And I had really wild sunglasses, so I got all dolled up and I looked at that suit and I said, wait a minute, I'm not a fucking businessman, I'm not a programmer, I'm not a geek, I'm an artist, this is bullshit. And I shoved the whole thing, the whole three-piece suit, I put it in the big garbage can there, in the men's room at Logan.